We finally have a conclusion to the Anti-Flag situation. In a blowout decision, a judge has ordered Justin Sane of the band Anti-Flag to pay out nearly $2 million to his accuser, Christina Cerati. It is definitely not every day that a situation of this variety reaches this conclusion. So today, we're gonna dive into all of it. Before we do, hey, hi, hello, my name is Dan Frampton, and welcome back to Punk News Now. So if you've been following this channel or been keeping up with this story, you know it starts all the way back in 2023. I covered it all the way through. Every single update, this channel was there. And when this story first hit my timeline, it was in the year 2023 when a woman named Christina Cerati was on a podcast called Enough. On that podcast, she went into all the horrific details of her experiences with Justin Sane. I'm not here to get into all of those details. If you want to know, if you want to get caught up, those videos are there. But what's important to note during this podcast appearance is that Christina did not mention Justin Sane. She just went through her own timeline and told her story. Through all of that, internet sleuths and other people that unfortunately have similar situations happen to them with this very specific person were able to deduce quickly that it was Justin Sane of the band Anti-Flag that she was talking about. And all of this came out, may I add, when Justin Sane and Anti-Flag were out there on tour. Not really the greatest time to be hit with this kind of thing. If you're them, if you're anybody else, this is the perfect time to strike. So the news came out and everybody was like, yeah, it's Justin Sane. All the fingers were pointing towards him. That tour that they were on, canceled. Everybody just go home. The heat is too hot. Justin and the band denied everything. It was categorically false, according to him. And then 12 more stories came out. 12 more women came out courageously detailing their events with Justin Sane. And there was definitely a pattern between these where you could tell that, yeah, this was the same person doing the same thing to different people over the course of many, many years. Again, I don't want to open up these wounds in this video. All of those details are on this channel if you want to go back and watch them now. Those 12 women's stories were gathered, round up, and put together in a Rolling Stone article. Stories of this variety don't normally get this much press. They don't normally get this much attention. The Rolling Stone swooped in and made this story much bigger than it was before, which makes this more than just a landmark case for the punk rock world. This is a landmark case for stories of this variety of all kinds. But after these 12 stories came out, Justin went radio silent, transferred all of his assets to Ireland, where he has like a dual citizenship or whatever. And as all of this was happening, a part of Christina's case was completely dismissed by the courts. And that part was the part where Christina implicated the other band members for knowing what Justin Sane was getting up to. The court deemed not enough evidence to support that, so they threw that part of it out. And when this happened, I was starting to feel, let's say, a little bit less hopeful. But former fans of the band started throwing out the old merch, started burning the vinyl, and started protesting in a way that I don't normally see in situations like this. Normally there's a really big section of the audience that is like, oh yeah, well, you know, she probably shouldn't have dressed that way. Or they make any other kind of excuse like, oh well, she went up to the room with him. Newsflash, buddy, when it comes to consent, you can say no at any point, even up in the hotel room. So there were still some people saying that kind of brain dead stuff, but for the most part, everybody was rocking with Christina and believed every single word that all these victims were saying. And I think a big part of the audience believing it is that Justin Sane was this big anti-rape guy. He was this big vocal feminist guy that just felt like a screen for something. And when that mask started to slip, it was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing over here, Justin Sane. That's really evil and predatory. And it's been about 7 months since the last update to the story, and we finally have the conclusion today. And I never see situations come to a head like this. A judge ordered Justin Sane to pay nearly $2 million to Christina Cerati. Well, it was more like $1.1 million with an additional $750,000 for punitive damages. Justin Sane was trying to be a weasel and trying to duck and dodge out of this the whole way through. And now by the end of it, his reputation is ruined, his career is gone, his band is gone, and now he's $2 million in the hole. I reached out to Christina for a statement, and I'm gonna read it right now. This is a small piece of the closest thing to justice that a survivor can get, in our current system. And professional predators like Giever, that's just insane, especially ones with wealthy families and international privilege, can exploit the loopholes with no consequences. But we're not giving up. My team is already on the move and will continue to seek accountability here and for all the women whose stories still haven't been told. I just want folks to remember that he is one of thousands of famous predators and I am one of millions of survivors. We need all hands on deck. For now, I'm unbelievably grateful for the privilege to be heard and believed, and unbelievably relieved this part is over. This is a small victory, but it's for all of us. And honestly, that statement resonates very hard right now, especially in the year 2025, when it seems like crime is legal. People are getting away with stuff left, right, and center. People in very high levels of office, people with a lot of power and a lot of money, keep getting away with the most egregious stuff on earth. And that is so selfless of Christina to be like, I am just one of millions, because that is true. And that's why this story has such grander implications than just for her or just the punk scene or just music. This is greater. This goes all the way to the very tippy top, because most of the people that come forward with their stories are coming forward courageously and honestly. There are some that need to be scrutinized, obviously, but for the most part, if you look at even the data, most people that come out with these kind of stories aren't doing it maliciously, and to think that they are is a little bit twisted, I think. So to finally have this case, this landmark story, with a $2 million price tag on the end of it, well, that's kind of the punctuation that you kind of need in a situation like this. Now there's precedent for accountability and a dollar amount attached to it. Now I'm not personally sure if things are going to change because of this one story. It is just a little crack that I hope starts to bust wide open. The people with the most power in the world actively try to cover up this kind of stuff. So that's why, even though I have such a small, tiny little voice, I feel it's important to throw my hat in the ring. It might not look like I have a dog in the race over here, but I side with truth, justice, and accountability. And now hopefully there's time and space for Christina to heal. In a statement to Rolling Stone, she says it might take another decade or two to repair the damage to her life. But then she adds, I'm proud of the person who has used this moment to give their shame back to the perpetrator. Proud of myself for not backing down, and humbled by the solidarity of survivors on every continent. I am no longer heartbroken by Griever's betrayal. I'm enraged that patterns of abuse like his continue to escalate in every arena, and more determined than ever to expose and disrupt them. Man, Christina is such a badass, honestly. To just stand up through all that pain and just like take all those bullets like that. Absolutely admirable, inspirational even. But for now, that seems to be the end of the Just Insane situation. But now, since we're at the end of the video, I want to know your thoughts. Comment down below. If you're here within the first 3 hours, I will respond, or at least reply, or at least engage. Okay, and until the next scoop, goodbye, see you later, and have a good one.